Hello, everyone. I am Leyland Simmons, the Director of Dance at the Harlem School of the Arts. Thank you so much for joining me today for another episode of our HSA at Home Dance Masters series. It's been a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful experience over these last few weeks. Talking to these artists who have been so candid and so open about their journeys. I would say that there's been one theme, a number of themes, but one of the themes that I would say that has resonated over these last few weeks. And that theme would be the theme of strength, right? The theme of strength, strength to endure through challenges, strength to endure through heartache and pain and tragedy. And with that, I think of what's taking place in the world right now, with the injustices and the violence, against, Black and brown people right now. But I think about the strength that many of these mothers and brothers and family members have, to endure and to keep going, after losing a son or after losing a daughter. Strength is something that we as artists, have to have, I'd say, to make it through the challenging times. And I think the challenging times and difficult times are really what define, who we are as artists. But I want to talk about today's guest. She hails from Brazil. She is a beautiful ballerina, a principal ballerina with the Dance Theatre of Harlem. She's a part of our HSA family as she's been teaching, guest teaching, doing master classes, choreography, coaching, working with our young dancers. She's an entrepreneur. She has foundations. She's a brand ambassador. And she's with us here today. And we are so lucky to have her. She is the wonderful Ingrid Silva. I'm going to bring her in now. She's coming. Miss Ingrid Silva.
Hi.
Hey, Ingrid, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well. I'm hanging in there. Some tough times right now, but just trying to stay positive in spite of everything that's happening right now. Been doing these master series over these last few weeks, and before we launch this, I said I had to have Ingrid a part of this because in my mind she represents beauty, she represents perseverance and strength. I know you have a story that I think will inspire our community. We have our dancers and students who work with you, but we have students who haven't worked with you, who are in the music department, the theater department. And, I want them to find out who you are and follow you because, I think that you have just a lot of wisdom and you have just a lot to share with these young artists in our HSA community. So I guess I'll just start is like, how are you doing though right now? How are you doing right now? Yeah.
That's a tough question these
Yeah.
days. I think right now I am trying to find the middle ground between be sane,
Yeah.
find myself, and be okay with what's happening in the world.
Right.
Definitely, it's not easy for sure. It's not a moment that we carry on like as Black dancers. A lot of people are like, oh, hey, that's okay. We still can take classes and smile. And I'm like, this is not the time I'm feeling like smiling. Like something is really happening.
Right.
I've been part of a lot of marches and protests. That has been helping me cope with what's happening, be useful, online, offline. I am trying to really understand and help in any way I can, which is very, very important right now, using my voice for something that's important. I would love to thank you for this opportunity of being here. HSA is in my heart. I love teaching there, love my students. It's very special moments. For those of you that don't know me, My name is Ingrid Silva. I'm a professional ballet dancer with the Dance Theatre of Harlem. I'm originally from Brazil. I started in a dance community project in the favelas of Brazil. And this dance community space is really changed people's lives. You know, I can relate so much with HSA because I see a lot of my students in me when I first started. And that's really important because not many of us dancers of color have these opportunities, especially with dance. Dance is still feels, and it kind of is a very elite shape of art form, and it's really hard for you to have these opportunities to join into these communities, you know, and blossom from it. We need a lot of support from that. So I am really excited to be here, sharing a little bit of what's going on and enlightening and inspiring people, because right now, you know, we in our little jails at home waiting for this to be done and go back to the studio, go back dancing. Like, I miss dancing in the studio and using bigger spaces. I really do miss it, you know. I have my little studio here in the living room and I'm like, I'm over it. I'm glad I have this. No, it's not the same. And I'm glad I have this window, because I'm like, okay, whenever I want to zoom out, I just look at the window. I look what's happening in the streets, you know. But yeah.
You know, I'm curious because, you know, you are Afro-Brazilian, and we talk about representation in ballet and the arts. You know, I was always curious, do you feel that there is probably more representation of Blacks in ballet here in the United States?
Oh, for sure.
So than Brazil?
No. They're so late there, like completely late. There is a school that I've always dreamed to be part of it, and they had only one dancer of color, which, you know, Betania. But she wasn't part of the company. She was in the school as well. And then she came to join GTH. It was the same journey as mine. In their corps of ballet, there has never been. Like, there was one, but she was contemporary. They never let her do classical work. When I go home now, I feel like I am one of the names for the Black community, because there's not many of us at all. And I think that's still a problem. You know, I'm really appreciative of the Dance of Harlem, of New York City, of like America, and coming here and having an opportunity in my area, which is art. But I really wish that my country was evolved enough to take a step and create a space for diversity in arts, not even just for dancers of color, but diversity in general. Because when you look Brazil, you think, oh, wow, this is so interesting. I get a lot from people, are you Brazilian? Because whatever they see in commercials, in TV and things like that, they think Brazilian people are all white, and it's not. Majority of Brazil is Black, and we have so much history, but it's just not told correctly.
I agree. I was watching something recently, and I saw, you know, I was witnessing the disparities and hearing about the injustices in Brazil, which mirror so much of what's taking place here. You know, the police brutality, the violence against Black and brown people. You know, I want to hear your angle on that, you know, as an Afro-Brazilian who's now been in America for quite some time, and witnessing the violence and the injustices here, and then thinking about Brazil, you know, parallels and maybe differences. You know, I almost feel like it might be even more extreme in Brazil than it would be here.
Oh, for sure. And I also feel like it always comes from the top. It's like a family. If you don't have a good structure and you were a kid and you were a sponge to what's happening, you absorb whatever bad your parents are doing it to yourself, and you think that that's okay. So in terms of country-wise, it always comes from the top. If you don't have good legacy, if you don't have good example, if you don't have people who care for a nation, that's the problem. In Brazil right now, our country is dying from COVID. Our health system is horrible. I am devastated. I'm really worried about my family. it's tough times. It's not just tough being black in the country, but dying from a disease that you have no resource to be able to find a cure. Like, I know that they're working on it, they're making steps, but still we are not there yet. And our leadership is horrible.
Yeah.
He literally said, you know, my name is such and such, but I don't make miracles.
Right. Yeah,
So
I've heard that he's even more extreme than Donald Trump, right?
yeah, so I was like, what does that mean? You know, and then people are really, really, really dying. I think in terms of brutality towards brown people, it's a huge problem that we have. I feel like here people voice their opinions, even though you voice nicely, then you start breaking everything. So somebody here and something, it's done. There, I feel like politics in a way and police brutality are so risky and so fatal that people end up dying in peaceful protests for no reason.
Yeah.
So people are scared to go outside and fight for their rights, and that's oppression. You know, in Brazil, we have been feeling this oppression for quite some time, and people feel that they're not heard. And unfortunately, right now, it feels like we are not going to be heard for a long time because this is a huge problem. So I think majority of people are trying their best in a way of like, hey, this is what we are going to do. This is what we are going to make. My brother actually was in one of the protests in Brazil 2 weeks ago, and I was really proud of him because I get a lot of not backlash, but question. People are like, well, COVID is happening. Why are you going outside to protest? And I am like, this is not even a question right now.
Right.
It's either I die from being a black woman or I die from COVID. So which one?
Right.
If you are safe and you can be home, that to me is a privilege. But I cannot even have that peace of mind. And that's also human rights. My rights to be alive at the body and the skin color I have.
Yeah.
You know? And I feel like we don't have that in none of these worlds right now.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's all over. It's universal. You know how we are treated as black and brown people in this country. You know, I want to ask you. You know, you have been in the States for quite some time. You know, have you experienced more racism and bias or prejudice here, or would you say more so? Have you experienced more in Brazil? I'm just curious.
I mean, I think because we live in New York, we are already privileged. Whenever those things happen, people always check. You know, you always check somebody. You never go home unnoticed. I haven't had any problems or suffered anything in New York, but GTH travels a lot.
Yeah.
And there is a place that it's called Wyoming, which is in the middle of America. And I'm sorry if you are from there, but I hate that place. I did not feel comfortable. I did not feel safe. I did not feel respected. We were there for a month for residency, and it was quite scary. It was the first time, because I mean, I think America also, I would think that I would feel safe. New York, again, the bubble. But when you go outside of here, you see something else.
Yeah, you do see something else.
And then there, it was the first time that I was kind of like, wow, I fear for my life right now. I can't wait to go home. And that to me was horrible because we've had episodes while we were there that we would be sitting in a table having dinner and people would walk towards us and say, hey, what are you guys doing here? You know, like, because clearly there is not much diversity in there. So if you see 18 black people, where are y'all coming from? You know, so I think in a way people get curious, but they get also like, what are you guys doing in our town? We don't see that much. So I think to me, that was one of my first, you know, shock problems here.
Yeah. It's like that unfortunate, the underbelly and that history of the United States, and you know, the that rooted racism that has been going on for so long, and you find it in just different parts of the country, whether it's overt in your face or it's the subtleties, you know, the nuances, you know, type of racism. But it, you know, it is there and it is everywhere, and it's really unfortunate, you know, how we are treated when we go into certain spaces, and then we are often policed, you know, and then we've got the people who are always questioning, what are you doing here? Like, we don't belong, you know, like it's just, it's disgusting, you know, and then for many white people not to, you know, they don't see it, they don't understand the privilege, they never experienced this. So they're oblivious when you bring it up in conversation sometimes.
They get very defensive.
Very defensive. Very defensive.
You don't even want to hear or talk about it, but when it's brought towards you, you're like, oh, I don't know what to do. Like, this happens to everyone, not you, but at least have the decency of listening and learning from it and having empathy with others.
Yes, empathy. You said it, empathy. Empathy and yeah, and understanding for other people's experiences. You know, we talk about activism. You've been doing activism work for quite some time now. You know, I want to know about Empower. You know, what led you to starting this foundation, and tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, I think I believe women should have a voice. As dancers, we were raised in a world that we cannot talk.
Yeah.
You know, you get in line, you say yes, you say no, you barely ask a question, you're always scared of everything. To me right now, it's a moment, you know, when people are living this racism thing in America in their dance companies.
Yeah.
And right now, this is for them time to step up, but they are so accustomed to not say anything.
Right.
That even right now, when they have to use their own power, they're scared. So to me, Empower New York came as a way of creating positive, safe space for women globally from all kinds of places, because it's really important. We already have way too many categories. Black women, Indian women, women. We have so many categories.
Right.
And we never have anything that make us one, you know, that make us united. And women itself are always not always, but majority of times doesn't have self-confidence, because we were taught from the beginning that you would have to compete with each other, you know, that you would have to be better than the other women, that you would have to get the attention that someone else is not getting it. And at the end of the day, it's not that. If you think about it, all these women have been living and experiencing the same thing. They're just worried to talk about. So I also thought about my experience with my family members, like when, you know, when you were young and you go to the kitchen and you watch your aunties sharing their stories. I've always been around of older people, and I've heard so much stories. So not just the necessity of having a space and occupying a space as women, I believe that we are just more than an accessory, you know, because women has been treated as an accessory. You were just made to have the baby. You were just made to cook. You were just made to clean the house. No, we are way more than that. You know, even though laws and those things are so late according to what's happening in the world, we are way more than that. And I do believe that we can make change. If you look at the countries that had women leaders towards COVID, they're all clean. Everybody's out by now.
Over in Europe,
You know, they're good. And I think that's the problem we've seen as well. So we have this big pyramid which says men on the top all over, women in the bottom, and then the subcategories, which would be Black people, indigenous people, trans people, gay people. We are literally all separated, and they made this structural, so we never get together and become powerful to take the top of the pyramid, because that's what's missing, you know. So I think that's basically the idea that I had of creating Empower New York. We've had many events in New York City. Unfortunately, with COVID right now, we don't have any, but if you guys want to check it out, our Instagram. We have so many amazing things happening there. And it's really important to still make there as a safe space, even though for people that are home, you know?
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. You're right. And you know, you're talking about the top. I mean, it just a lot of it boils down to that white male patriarchy, right? And it's like you said, us coming together,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully, what would happen if we were able to come together? Because we're always being divided. But how do we come together to erupt and disrupt the system, which is, you know, led by that white male patriarchy? I want to talk to you about, you know, you've been on this platform, and you know you've had so many opportunities. You know, talk to me about the Nike and the Dove brand ambassador work that you how did that come to be?
Well, I think, which is crazy to me, everything in my life, which means works with brands, it's very organically. For some reason, they do find me and they like my story and they want to make it, they want to share this story, you know, with the world, with more people. The more, the merrier. And I think it's amazing because I always think in my time how it would make a difference for me as a little black girl watching someone that looked like me. I've never had that experience, you know. I've never had that person that I could look up to. And right now, it's amazing how internet made that possible.
Mm,
To me, sometimes it's also like people have high expectations of who I am or what kind of person I am, and I always wanted to share my truth as I am a regular human, just like you guys. I happen to have a story that's very powerful, but I am not perfect. So it's important for people to relate with what reality is. Nike was very special to me because I got to share and be really emotional in that video. That it, I think the question that she asked me when I cried was, "Where did dance took you?" And I said, "Here."
yeah,
This to me is incredible. How many people get to do a commercial with Nike and represent
yeah,
classical ballet? They have never had anybody. I don't even think that maybe this is what I think that they thought ballet could be sport,
yeah, yeah.
you know?
Yeah, you're right. I haven't seen a commercial featuring a ballerina, you know, with a sports company, let alone a black ballerina. You know,
Exactly,
breaking
exactly,
major ground.
exactly.
And then, you know, then your Dove
Yeah.
campaign, and then, you know, how did that come to be on one?
And I think Dove to me, it's special as well because it has everything to do with Black women's hair and how do we see ourselves as people. You know, my first perception of like hair, it struck me back in Brazil when I was a teenager. You know, I've always had my hair in a perm. I've never had it in my natural state. I did not even know what was my hair in a natural state
Wow.
because we follow so much trends,
Yeah.
you know. Like the first time that I really felt like liberated was 5 years ago when I did my big chop.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for the first time ever since I was a baby, I experienced what my hair was.
Right.
Not many people get to do that. We have so much all kinds of hair here in America, let's say, that you can change your hair every day. You never know which one you want. I want this straight, I want curly, I want dread. And
Right.
to me, it was really important for me to feel good about myself, you know, to feel me, and let alone being a black ballerina with the natural hair dancing classical ballet, which is everything that people avoid, or they're
Yeah.
like, that's not possible, they cannot do that. And I feel like in a way, just being me in this atmosphere, in this world, it's already a statement.
Yeah, it is. It is, and breaking those constructs of what beauty is, and you know, I think it's so nice to see, you know, black women, you know, being able to express themselves, especially with their hair in its natural state. You know, we have these Eurocentric standards of beauty that get embedded in us, and you know, and so it's just so refreshing to see that. And I know that in Brazil, you know, colorism is a big thing over there as it is here.
Yep.
And so, like I said, it's so refreshing. And you know, you wear the mantle so well because I think because you are so relatable and you're so honest and you put it out there, you know, I'm not perfect, you know, I have my flaws or whatever, you know, but what you represent, I think people are able to connect with. And I think that's just so beautiful. You know, talk to me about the Swans for Relief camp.
Oh, wow.
You're part of so many different initiatives.
That was a challenge for me because, first of all, it was my first time. When Missy selected me and emailed and texted me, she's like, "Hey, I'm doing this project. I would love if you want to be part of it." I was in shock at first. Not that I didn't deserve to be in this project, but it's so special, you know? And I've never done that solo before. Let alone in my living room on a wood floor. I did not even have the Marley. It was just me and my point shoes. So it was so cool because my husband recorded from the corner, and I was like, you have to get the best angle. You know, you are a dancer. You are a dancer in your heart. You have been coming to see me performances. You have to get the best angle. So it was quite like interesting because she was very simple about get the feeling of the music, get the structure of the choreography, get to know the feeling of where she's taking the solo, and do your own version.
Yeah.
So it was so beautiful to do my own version, but to express in a place and time where I'm very blessed that my company is paying me. We are currently working, but so many other companies are not.
Yeah.
And so many other dancers are just like with no support. And this campaign is definitely to help and support these companies. And also something that worries me, it's what's going to be art from now on.
Yeah.
We are the people who bring agglomeration. And if we can't do that in any time soon, then are we closing doors? Because we survive by doing performances, actually real life performances. So that's a problem, you know? And I'm really worried of what the future is going to hold for us. I'm really worried of dance, like us as dancers. How how are we going to be next year?
Yeah.
Because we've been dancing in these little squares, and even though I'm very inspired to keep taking class every day, yada yada yada, this is no space.
Right.
So we are doing things and adapting and acquiring habits that we didn't had it before.
Yeah.
Which means we are dancing under ourselves. That to me is a problem because when you work with choreographers, all they want is for you to explore the space.
Right. Right.
We ain't exploring any space right now, and that's gonna affect our dancing for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think there's not one soul that's gonna be like, oh, we're gonna be great. I get back next year. Like I can do this and that. No, we're gonna get to a bigger space and gonna be like, what?
Yeah.
Oh wow, this is what I used to do. You know, it's so much. And as dancers, we leave with our artistry. So I'm very worried about that as well.
Yeah. You know, but I think with dancers and their resilience and their fire and tenacity, I think it will be a little rough getting back. But you know, when you've been cooped up for so long, I think for many dancers, when they get back into the studio, they're going to explode. And I think many of them are going to dance in ways that they haven't danced before. And I think many dancers are really going to appreciate. They're going to appreciate what they had, you know, because I think we take it for granted sometimes, like especially dancers who get to perform night after night and opera houses and stages, and there's always someone who's getting on your nerves and we can't work with and complaints and this and that. But I mean, I think we'll be more appreciative when we get back into those spaces, you know, and really take the time just to like, you know, really just kind of remember this time, how I survived COVID, and this season.
I know. I also feel like right now, historically, at the place that we are, it's a great time to be alive. we are going to have so many memories and so many stories to tell
Yeah.
that probably next generations or previous or the babies, we're going to have so many babies this year.
Yeah.
For starters, you know, I mean, and it's the circle of life.
Yeah.
So many people are dying and so many are going to born.
Yeah.
And it, in a way, I mean, it's very sad for the ones who are dying because of this, but it's beautiful
Yeah.
because it's the circle of life, and it has to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. And I think, I think people are going to explore the technology since we've been doing all this technology. They're probably going to explore the technology even more choreographically and more online virtual performances and stuff. I see that for some reason. I'm just curious, there is such a mantle that you carry with all of the things that you do and, the representation and, the, the initiatives that you start, that you run. Do you ever feel a little overwhelmed
Oh yeah.
or weary? And, if you do, what do you do to keep yourself motivated and inspired?
Hmm.
What ignites you to keep going? Because you have your hand in so many different places. Principal ballerina, you're also a guest internationally, running in power. I also didn't mention the Blacks in Ballet.
Yeah.
Right? You also have another initiative, Blacks in Ballet, right? You have your hand in so many pots. But I think what's so beautiful is that so many young artists can watch you and watch your story and take note and understand that they should be more than just a dancer.
Exactly. And I think you got to my point. So there are times when I feel overwhelmed, like right now. I've been very choosy and using this time for me. I know I've been getting like a lot of messages. Oh, let's do a live, let's do teaching, let's do this. This is the first time I'm saying no to a lot of stuff.
Hmm.
I'm like, it's not that I'm home 24/7, that I'm going to leave this online world that we became. That to me sometimes tends to be too much because I feel like everything that I've done in my social media, for example, is organically. So
Yeah.
when it starts to become a soap opera or a TV show that you
Yeah.
need a chapter every day,
Right.
that annoys me a little bit. So I'm like, no, not today. No, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So what makes me inspired when I have these tough times, when I don't want to do anything, is like take Frida, my dog, go to the park, or just spend time. Like this is the first time actually that I'm in my house for more than a month
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
12 years because we're always traveling, and I'm like, oh, I live here, but I just put my stuff in the closet and then get in a suitcase and leave.
Yeah.
And that has been happening in a while. So this is the first time that I'm working from inside out. So
Mm.
I'm taking a lot of time for reflecting in the things that I'm working. I'm taking time for me. I'm investing in projects that I do believe. Um, and I think it's beautiful because I do not want to be a slave of what electronics are making us to be,
Mm. Yeah.
you know. And also, yes, I do want to be inspired, yes, I do want to take class, but I do not want to hurt myself. So I haven't jumped in 3 months, and now I just started jumping because I'm wearing sneakers, but I
Yeah.
am not jumping in this floor,
Yeah.
you know, even though when we have classes and stuff. So I think it's more of a self-care moment for me than anything else. Yes, I'm worried about my career, but I'm worried about my mental health. And
Yeah.
that's my main point. And as dancers, we want to go with the flow because everybody's doing it and it's great, but you should just take the time for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Awesome.
I think creating Blacks in Ballet, I've been developing this project for 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a research that I'm doing. Now we expanded, but I wanted to do a research in finding Black Brazilian dancers,
Mm.
which is very rare. You see one here and there, but how many Black do you know?
Right. Right.
It's
Yeah.
very rare. So
Right.
I created a group on WhatsApp where I did the research. Then we decided to create Blacks in Ballet, which is a digital platform where we want to expand in finding more of these resources finding more of people. We do not want to feature just nowadays dancers or famous dancers or whoever has too many followers. We want to tell stories. We want to find dancers that came before us and gave us opportunity for us to be here now. You know, that's really important too. It's something that not many of us research or look for. And I think this is really important with this project.
Wow, that's beautiful. I wish you all the best with that one. That's needed. You know, we gotta do the research and know those who came before us. You know, that's important. I mean, I guess I just want to ask you. I guess one of my final questions is, what is what have been some of the greatest just rewards of your journey thus far that you would just say?
Well, I think being able to be in places and moments of times that many people haven't had the opportunity. Um, just being a dancer that it's outside of the box. I've never wanted to just be a ballerina. That was never my goal.
Mm.
I think I can be so much more as a human, as a person, as a woman. I was raised to have a very strong opinion and know what I wanted from the beginning. I was never like, oh, so what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, when people say, I don't know, I never had that.
Yeah.
I always knew what I want to do. It was either this or either that. And I think to me, using my platform, and because also I did not want to be that dancer that it's just on stage, that people just come there, see them, and they're venerating, that they love them, and that's it. I did want to use my platform for other things.
Yeah.
I wanted to use this visibility to other things, which I think it's more important right now as diversity.
Yeah.
Why people in companies have only two black dancers and they say that, oh, yes, we hug diversity. No, you're not doing anything. Why do you have all these brands now coming up with another three-color shoes again? Y'all making me tired. You're not doing anything. You're not getting any cookies. You should do more. That's why you have Rihanna coming up and ripping every single makeup brand, because she created so many colors, well, so many skin tones, and that's who we are.
Mm-hmm.
That's who we are as human. We are all kinds. We are not just three colors. So one of the things that makes me more reflective is the dance world. It's still very slow, in fact, to evolve.
Oh yeah.
It's not evolving. If we don't have all this Black Lives Matter movement happening, Band-Aid and thinking about creating shades for you, and they just created some. I've been living my 32 years around the moon, and I've never had a Band-Aid in my color. Oh, we are listening to you. Oh, are you? Or it's just the right timing for you to launch this. So to me, this is what I always reflect. We need to be, as a society, diverse, inclusive, and we need to look what's happening constantly.
Yes, we do.
It doesn't matter if you were doing something right now. What is your long-term goal? Mm-hmm. What are you doing to be more inclusive in many places of work? It doesn't matter if big companies are getting thousands and millions of grants to invest in diversity. Are your board members Black?
Right.
Or it's just the people that work serving you coffee or cleaning the space, And to me, this is what I always observe.
Mm-hmm.
To make races in a way or to bring more diversity to the table. Or I always say that I want one day to sit in a theater and see the whole world in a stage. Yeah. All kinds of shades, all kinds of bodies, all kinds of everything, and we don't have that yet.
No, we don't. No, we don't. No, you are speaking truth. You are speaking truth. I guess I also want to ask you, what advice would you give to these young, I don't want to just say dancers, but young artists right now who are going through this COVID-19 time? Some of them are feeling down, depressed, also with, seeing all the injustices and the violence, amongst Black and brown people. What would you say to them? Is there any words of encouragement, maybe?
Yeah, I think right now one of the most important things is try to find support in your community, with your family, with your friends. I mean, anyone that you trust, because people feel so lonely right now. Some of them, the ones especially that can go home. Like I can go home, but I have my family here, so it's not that bad. But if I were by myself, this wouldn't be a great time. So I think try to find things that are not dance things, but that makes you happy. Now is the best time for that.
Right.
Go ride a bike, go sit in a park. I mean, wear your mask, but go sit in the park, go appreciate nature.
Yeah.
Journal, like literally, I'm writing so much, like I'm writing every day.
Yeah.
You have to register this moment. Some things we block in our memories because we don't want to remember, but
Right.
when you write them, when you put them out there, and I think that it's one of the good things. Try to communicate more with your close friends that you hadn't had the time before.
Yeah.
Like we are always so busy. I don't have time to see you. I don't have time for that. Now you have all the time in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Call that person that you haven't called, check on them, see how they're doing.
Right.
Um, be inspired. It's so hard to be right now in the reality. We all have ups and downs. I do have ups and downs. That once again, I'm not perfect. There are days that I'm like, okay, we gotta wake up and do a Zoom class again. I don't think I can do this. Like sometimes I want to take my bar and go to the park
Right.
because it's tough. But I think what's been helping me, it's finding other things besides dance that has been keeping me sane.
Mm. Mm. Excellent. Excellent. Well, Ingrid, I want to thank you so much for being a part of our HSA at Home Dance Master Series. You embody inspiration and strength, and confidence, and just understanding globally what you want for the world and the world you want to see, and using your art and your platform um, to advocate and create change. So I just want to thank you again for being a guest here. You are part of our family forever, and you're just a blessing to the arts community. So,
Thank you.
yes,
Thank you.
thank you,
This
thank
is real this is really special because I think not many people has the opportunity of experiencing um dance communities who are very welcome.
you. Right.
Sometimes people have hard times, but I'm very blessed to have had many people who has supported me and helped me in this journey, and you guys are one of them.
Well, thank you so much for just taking time to work with our kids and talk to them and just being a part of our community. We're so grateful. I'm so grateful, and I'm just so appreciative. Um,
Thank you.
Everybody at home, thank you so much for tuning in. Look out for our summer classes. They've already gone up. If you want to take a dance class, a theater class, a visual arts class, we have classes for your children here at the Harlem School of the Arts. We'll be doing virtual classes this summer, unless something changes. If they come up with a vaccine, we'll be
Right?
back in the studio. But if not, we'll be online. But we hope you guys sign up for classes. And again, thank you so much, Ingrid.
Thank
Blessings.
you.
Wow, you are awesome.
Thank
Love, love,
you.
love, love, love this. Thank you so much. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye bye, guys. Thank you.